I think it's really important to get an aspect for how the school operates. How are students greeting you in the hallway? What do you notice about the way students are talking to one another? How are teachers greeting you when you're there as a visitor or as a, on a tour? I think ultimately the feel of a school really has to work. And that's what our families say. They say it just feels good in this building. It feels happy. It feels like a place I want to send my child.
In this video, you'll meet Lindsay Laidman, who's the principal of Glenn Arbour Academy in Burlington, Ontario. And in this video, you'll hear her talk about her own professional journey within the school from a teacher to becoming principal. You'll hear her talk about the daily life of their students and the values they try to instill in them. And you'll also hear her talk about the way that teachers are involved in school community and the way that they resolve conflicts between students and with parents. Hi, I'm with Lindsay Laidman, who's principal at the Glenn Arbour Academy in Burlington, Ontario. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. So first, to start off, tell me about 3 things you love about your job.
My job is amazing. Every day is different. I would say one of the greatest kind of aspects or perks of my job is the ability to help learners grow and kind of nurture them through that journey. And I do that in a variety of ways. It's by working closely with teachers, by partnering with families. Really seeing the progression of a learner in their abilities is a really special part of my job. I also really love the outreach initiatives that we do and connecting with prospective families and learning about other students with different backgrounds. It's really exciting for me, the admissions process, and seeing whether or not students are a good fit and what they can offer to our community and vice versa. I also, of course, love engaging with the kids, right? Whether it's at recess, whether it's popping in the classroom, being a visible presence is a really important part of my practice. So I would say that that's a huge positive aspect as well.
What do you mean about invisible presence? How do you see that role playing out in school life?
Yeah, I think it's important that when administrators are present in classrooms and in the school building, it's seen as a positive. It's seen as a way to communicate and collaborate, and we're really seen as a resource rather than a disciplinary force. So to me, it's very important to nurture those relationships with positivity. So my office is a place where grade 2 students will come down and read to me when they've done journal writing, and they're so proud of using their expanded sentence structures and their vivid vocabulary. It's a place where we do announcements sometimes, or where we take group pictures for a student council initiative. So I think it's important to be diverse in that practice, so that the kids and families and teachers see administrators as multifaceted, right? And really about putting the kids first.
So can you tell us straight off the bat, off the top of your head, what would you say makes Glenn Arbour Academy different than another school for a similar age group?
Absolutely. So I think one of the defining characteristics is something we take a lot of pride in, that family feel, that close-knit kind of community characteristic. So we're a really small school. We have just over 105 learners. We're very connected to our families through parent-teacher initiatives, through things like daily assemblies that we have where all parents and students join us. That's how we start our day in the morning. So I think really being able to offer that kind of feel and safety. Students are looking for ways that they can express themselves and be celebrated for who they are as individuals. I think our close feel allows us to do that. Being a family-owned business as well, I think, is a unique aspect that we offer. Generations of family leadership and lots of close collaboration with teachers that really makes our educators passionate. I think at our school, because of the size, we are able to connect so meaningfully with students, right? And teachers really find themselves in these really important relationships with learners, and those relationships are built up every day, right, through a variety of ways. So I would say definitely for prospective families looking for that environment of safety, where students are celebrated for who they are. The uniforms is one way that we do that. So all students are looking uniform, which enables us to really celebrate creativity in other ways. For example, we've had learners that may have been disenfranchised or excluded in previous schooling environments, who may have had experiences with bullying. So that doesn't exist at our school. Like it is truly a collaborative effort where, of course, students are taught to work out their differences and to really discuss and problem solve so that conflicts don't escalate to that bullying level.
Right. A very important issue for a lot of families, especially if they have experience with bullying. So can you describe how an incident would be resolved with your student?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have a progressive bullying policy, as is the mandate for the Safe Schools Act. So we do pursue kind of conflict resolution in that way when we need to involve families. However, I think that those problem-solving skills are really taught from the ground up. So if it's something, as simplistic as recess play and conflict over what kind of games we're going to play or what equipment we're going to use, we're teaching kids the communication skills, especially the sharing and collaboration pieces as well. That is an expectation at school, right? So if there are issues where students get into arguments or, they have disagreements, we are on it right away. And I think our size allows us to be really agile in that way and respond quickly to things. So we're letting families know right away of any issues that have happened. We're, bringing kids in for coaching. We're having conversations on both sides to see a resolution. At the end of the day, our class sizes are capped at 16. So it's really important that learners have a respectful relationship that's mutual, that has that respect component. And that's what we tell them, right? The message isn't you need to be best friends with everybody. The message is you communicate with respect. You engage with respect while you're outside, while you're in the classroom. So I think we really have a quick way of managing that and looping all parties in so that kids aren't going home really upset about their day. They feel that they've talked about their day. And we've brought moms and dads in to talk about their day. So we can see how we can change things around to be successful and to feel positive every day.
And what kind of families are drawn to Glenn Arbour Academy?
I would say our families that we have a strong value of education. So they really value a strong, enriched academic experience. That's often very important or priority of our current families. They're also looking for a school environment they can connect to and avenues where their voices can be heard, whether it's ideas through the Parent-Teacher Association, whether it's learning more about what their kids are doing in the classroom. They want to contribute, they want to participate, and they're highly invested. So those are all, I would say, key kind of aspects and values of our families. Also valuing the family knit feel. A lot of them enjoy joining us for morning assembling every morning, where they get to greet other families and teachers and students, or they hang out at our pickup time at the end of the day, where they can connect casually and have conversations with other parents and other students. Oftentimes there are close family relationships as well that develop among families in a classroom, and a lot of our enrollment is referral based as well. So that's, I think, really important too, and speaks to the values that they hold in terms of the school supporting that development for their kids.
So, and it's so prevalent now of all times that parents are usually pulled in a lot of different directions. They have work responsibilities, maintaining a home, parenting, and then also being involved in their kids' education. So what would you tell to parents who are maybe feel unable to have that kind of involved relationship with their school community?
Yeah, certainly we do have an aspect or a segment of our population that are very, very busy at work, right? And that have prioritized work schedules, because that needs to happen. Those kids are at our before school programs, they're at our after school programs, they're developing really close relationships with the before and after care teachers. They're setting up their day for the long haul, where they've got snacks and other things to do and downtime because they're spending such long periods of time at school. And with those parents, I say to them, of course, they've entrusted us with the most precious thing that they have, the most, important relationship that they have is the one with their child. So I think we demonstrate that trust in a lot of ways. Sometimes it's a quick email from the teacher. Sometimes it's a quick phone call just to check in. We don't necessarily have to only communicate at the reporting periods or at, the scheduled times within the school calendar. So I think with parents that do have those busy work schedules, they're looking for an environment where they can say, you know what, like I feel good about this. The vibe is really positive. The teachers I know are there for my kids. And in many cases, the teachers see the students more in a school day, right, than the mom and dad.
Absolutely.
We've had some funny cases, especially with the younger ones, where they call the teacher's mom, right, or some of our male teachers' dad. And I think it just shows the trust and the relationships that are built. So I think parents can see that when they have those conversations at the end of a long day, where kids are saying, here's what I did, and here's what Miss So-and-so told me, and, these are the funny things that happened today. I think they really do trust that those relationships are safe and that their kids are in a secure place where they can grow and they can really flourish into those learners that they really are.
And how does Glenn Arbour Academy address conflict with parents when they arise? Because it's inevitable that there will be some kind of miscommunication or issue that needs to be addressed.
Absolutely. I think an important aspect of that is a conflict resolution is having meetings face to face and really getting that face time and having time to sit down and talk, because I think a lot can be misconstrued sometimes in email. Mm-hmm. Tones can be misread, or the way certain vocabulary is used. So I find that sometimes that can be a challenge, but bringing parents in and sitting them down, to talk collaboratively is an really important part of my practice. And I make it a habit, as with all of the teachers through our training, to acknowledge the other side, to say, what I hear you saying is, what I'm understanding your, conflict is. So really repeating what the parent concern is, or what the conflict is, and saying, okay, here are the next steps, right? Here's how we're going to solve this problem together. Sometimes it's changes in a classroom practice, right? Sometimes it's about more information for a student's progress. Sometimes it's about the way we communicate. It's about setting up, face-to-face meetings rather than email communication. So I'd say we're really flexible in terms of what suits parents, and wanting to ensure that not only are they satisfied with a conflict resolution, but they feel it's authentic. We're not here, to please everybody without meaning. I think it needs to be connected to the learning for the student or the school experience. And that's really what we want to ensure that we're delivering in the best possible way. So accepting the feedback that way is such an important part of our practice and our journey as a private school. Being agile and adjusting to different trends, whether it's research in education or best practices or new learning initiatives that we've adopted. I think showing parents that we're up to date that way and using those as tools for conflict resolution as well is really helpful. But I certainly say communication that is clear, communication that's respectful, and communication that enables the parent to be heard is critical for sure.
And where are you looking to stay up to date with updates in education, in conflict resolution? Where are the places that you look to and make sure that your staff is also looking to make sure that you're putting forward the best that research in the field has to offer?
Absolutely. I think it's a mixture of best practices from the field. We have close relationships with other private schools and with administrators and directors on those fronts. So it's always exciting to learn about what other schools are doing and to kind of see how we can adapt things in our own unique way. I think a huge aspect as well is about the researchers in the field, right? The actual educational consultants. We belong to federations as well of private schools where we're discussing different topics and different research and best practices in the field. A lot of our teachers as well, through the professional development exchanges that we offer, they're exploring their own kind of teacher blogs or teacher websites or teacher, relationships that they may have with other educators from around the world. So we're looking to them as well in those conversations too. So I think it's a real blend, like a hybrid of making the research applicable. So, whether it's a scholarly article from a journal, whether it's a blog video for a teacher modeling a new practice, I think it needs to be a blend and it needs to be current. So we're always looking for ways to, really maximize the effectiveness there, and thinking of the learners we have in particular, right? A strategy will work really well for a specific learner in a class. So our strategies in that way are really customized, which I think is an excellent offering that we have as a school.
Great, and you've been at Glenn Arbour Academy for a long time. So take me back to when you first started. What was something that surprised you about the school that you didn't expect going in?
I think really walking by, not recognizing there was the school even in the building. I've been there for over 10 years and started as a supply teacher, then became a classroom teacher and have taught, from grade 1 to 8. So I think being really surprised at the community within the building, right? And connecting that to real relationships. I think driving by a school building in your neighborhood is different. When you see it, all the time, you don't necessarily recognize what exists. For me as well, in the beginning of my career, I was looking at the public school system, and with my teacher's college experience, that's really what how you were directed, how you were kind of encouraged to follow that avenue. And so private school was this really an unexpected surprise for me. Private school for me offered me the opportunity to really accelerate my abilities, to broaden my impact, to commit to learning and to these students, to work closely together in a teaching team. In the public system, for the time that I did volunteer, I wasn't able to make those impacts. The school communities are huge, and it just wasn't the same feeling. So I think the authenticity of my experience in private school is really what brought me there, and connecting with the learners and the families for all the years that I did teach, I think has really elevated my experience. And I think in terms of my relationships with families, they know me as both a teacher and an administrator. So it's a great kind of dual role in a way. That I've been on the ground, so to speak, right, and been doing the teaching and the evaluating and the reporting, but also now have that administration experience as well through my PQP program that I did. So it's just offered me an excellent means to broaden my career, to strengthen my abilities, to grow every day, which is another great aspect of private school that I think keeps me engaged, and parents and students as well, is that we're always changing. I think public schools are these, monolithic institutions, and change is really hard to implement with big groups of people with union constraints and ministry things that are going on. So in private school, I feel we're always making those changes, and we're doing them effectively, and we're responsive to our environment and to our students.
It's really interesting to hear you talk about that journey that you've had in this one institution. So when you had the opportunity to progress in your career and go into administration from a background in teaching, what was it about? What were you excited to change about the school? Was there a challenge that you were excited to fix, or was there something that you wanted to add to the experience? What drove that change for you?
Absolutely. So part of my teacher's college and administrative experience later my PQP training was actually to implement a school value system formally. So we had always had school values of inclusivity and kindness and respect and responsibility. They really came to life through my training in that sense, where I actually was responsible for implementing a school-wide value system who's epitomized in our Highlander hue mascot. So that was a program that I developed together, of course, with the support of the school owner, the head of school, and the teachers, in terms of translating those values to everyday practices in the classroom. So doing the research behind that, tracking the data for engagement, and really seeing that program grow was incredible. So we've implemented these values in a really real way. The kids now have a little bead system where when they are taught for kindness, acting out some of these values or showing responsibility, showing caring, they earn a bead. And once they earn beads for all of our 5 school pillars, we recognize their achievements with a white bead, and this happens through a full school ceremony where we clap and they get a certificate. It's very exciting. We have beads for specific days as well. For example, anti-bullying, like a pink shirt day, we have a pink bead to go with that. So that, I think, enhanced what already existed in the school, and really formalized it so that these values became a driving kind of force behind all the interactions of our students, either formally or informally, right, inside and outside the classroom. And the reason behind that, I think my goal was to make that positive impact. So, how can I, in my role as an administrator, track the change, right? Have data-driven strategies or a data-driven program that can demonstrate kids are more engaged when values are translated in this way, when, the goals are SMART goals, achievable, attainable, meaningful for them.
And imagine Glenn Arbour Academy is a character, a person. Can you name 3 traits that would describe that person?
So I think who automatically comes to mind is Highlander Hugh, right? He's our mascot, he's him, and he epitomizes those values. So I think a person like Highlander Hugh is super inclusive. He's always looking to include everybody to make sure that all values and perspectives are reflected, that kids are really feeling like they belong, that they really have a home at school that's away from home. I think Highlander Hugh is environmentally conscious as well. We've, had several initiatives as a school to reduce our carbon footprint, to impact the environment in positive ways, to help with community cleanups. Our green team is always coming up with great ideas, whether it's tree planting or an outdoor classroom, ways to connect with the environment. And I think that Highlander Hugh is mindful. I think that his emotional well-being and his mental wellness is really important. So taking the time to make sure that students are in that position to learn through a variety of strategies that calm them before a test or energize them when they've got lots of, ants in the pants and need to dance it out. I think that Highlander Hugh has that fun characteristic as well, that, he's a person that we like to be around. And he's someone that makes you feel good, that the school is a place that you come to where you feel really great about your school. You wear your tartan with pride, and you love talking about your school because it's an important place to you.
And, is there a student that wouldn't be a fit at Glenn Arbour Academy? Can you describe the kind of environment that, it wouldn't be suitable for?
I think in terms of, acceptance in our admissions process, we do a lot of things to make sure the fit is important and it's right. That's, could be a 2-day visit period, could be looking at previous report cards. We also have referral programs and documents that we ask prior teachers or administrators to fill out. So, for the most part, we do learn a lot about a student and their needs that way. And then we can ascertain whether or not we have the programming in place to really serve that student in an effective way. I would say the learners that maybe aren't the best fit are the ones that have the higher needs. So, for example, nonverbal students, at this point, we're not able to serve them. Students with, violent school records that have a history of violent aggression, we're not in a position to service them. So I think it really depends on the experience of the student, the educational experience, the academic ability as well. We do have a learning strategist on staff who works closely with our teachers to customize programs and to ensure that learning strategies are right for a particular child with a particular learning background or profile. But she's one person. So we acknowledge we're not a school that has a team of special needs resources or therapy support within the school. I think that those types of schools have a wealth of services to offer. But again, if we can't satisfy or serve those needs effectively, that's when we're going to decline on admissions.
So there needs, I understand about Glenn Arbour Academy that in the academic area, students are operating, they believe that they're operating at a baseline and then striving to reach above that, instead of operating where they are and then striving to meet a baseline. So the right student for Glenn Arbour is already meeting all expectations. They're operating functionally, and they are looking for that extra challenge. Is that right?
Yeah. So in many cases, our programming for students that are able to excel or exceed in those expectations, it's the enriched programming that we offer. So our math program for all core grades, for example, is an enriched program. That's cumulative, that's scaffolded. So we find that students really excel in the math program in that way because of its enriched kind of aspects that it offers. Similarly with language, we're operating, higher level reading comprehension skills, spelling, phonics, lots of emphasis on the writing process. However, we do have students that may have experienced gaps in learning, or who may, have a lack of confidence around performance. And we work really closely with those students and families as well, where it's measurable and achievable, to really raise their performance and to really hone in on the skills that maybe they didn't develop as well. And in many cases, the programming that we offer is a great fix for that. So they receive the direct instruction or the direct programming that they need in order to thrive in an enriched program, which for many families, they're saying, oh my gosh, I never thought my student could excel in this kind of environment with an emphasis on academics. But we find that due to the small class sizes, the one-on-one support that teachers are offering, and always connecting and checking in with students, that if there are gaps in learning, not in terms of severe developmental delays, but more so, if a student was just kind of a low achiever in a previous grade, or had interruptions in schooling, or whatever the reason, we're able to really hone in quickly. And parents are looking for that. They want to see that progress, mm-hmm. and they want to see it happen quickly. And in many, many cases, it really does.
And how would a student describe their time at Glenn Arbour? Are there, besides the values that we've talked about, how would a student describe their day?
I think it depends what age you talk to as well, because the little ones are the first to say, it's all about the recess. It's all about the fort building outside. It's all about gym with Mr. Fretz. It's all about moving. And they do that on the carpet with their circle-based learning. We have a strong focus on center-based, manipulative-based learning. So students are saying, I got to do this. I got to play with that. I got to build this. We had a teddy bear clinic, and I got to nurse a teddy bear back to health. But they don't even recognize it's learning, right? Like, those things are learning. So I think our students are so thrilled by their day and what they do in their day, all the different teachers that they get to see and the different activities they do. And they don't really know, oh my gosh, I'm learning, right? I think the older students, it's, in terms of, I have the responsibility of using my laptop. I think that's really cool. I get to bring my tablet to school for our e-learning program. I have my own locker. I have, my own responsibilities. I think they feel that sense of maturity as well, especially the senior school students. We have lots of leadership opportunities where they're partnering with younger students, whether it's a reading buddies context or, other kind of project-based learning things that we've done together with all grades. I think the older students are saying, like I got it going on. Like I'm helping the younger ones, or I'm showing my skills off, and they're feeling confident. I think that's probably the core trait that I would say all students exiting the building are confident. And you see it in how they walk, and you see it in how they talk to their families and to their siblings at the school. They feel like this is their home, this is their place. And they love their teachers, and they love what they do every day. So that positivity, I think that confidence, that's really what shines through.
And do you have any recommendations or advice for parents who are in the middle of a school search right now, and are there any red flags or any specific things to look out for that someone new to the field who's researching might not know of off the top of their hat?
Mm-hmm. I would say what I advise parents to do is follow their gut. It has to be a good feeling. You have to visit the school. You have to visit the community. See the school in action. Take a tour on a school day. Don't just do an open house. I think it's really important to get an aspect for how the school operates. How are students greeting you in the hallway? What do you notice about the way students are talking to one another? How are teachers greeting you when you're there as a visitor or as on a tour? I think ultimately the feel of a school really has to work, and that's what our families say. They say it just feels good in this building. It feels happy. It feels like a place I want to send my child. So yes, the policies are important. Yes, the programming is a driving force. But do you see your child being successful in this environment? Do you see them comfortable? Is that a transition that you feel they can be successful in? Those are the most important things. And in many cases, the student themselves turn to the child, set up a visit day for your child, see what their feedback is. How do they feel about the teachers and the students at the school? What's their feedback? Because, at our school, we have the students be an integral part of this application process. The fit has to work for them and it has to work for the school. So what are the ways that that's mutual for families looking for new schools?